Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be baking with you and we're going to be making churros. Don't know if you've ever had churros before. I think the only time I've really had them was when I went to Disneyland, and apparently this is their secret recipe. For our churros today we need a cup of water, butter, salt, some cinnamon, all-purpose flour. Thank you to my friend Claire. She got all-purpose flour so I don't have to use the whole wheat anymore. 3 eggs, they're in here. And then to cook up the churros, we're gonna be putting them in hot oil. So this is the oil we're gonna use. You can use any kind of vegetable oil. I'm using canola oil. And then to toss the churros, we need sugar and some more cinnamon. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands and then let's get started. Okay, before we move over to the stove, I'm gonna combine my water, just a cup of water, and 8 tablespoons of butter. So that's gonna take a little bit. One. It's a bit of a tedious process, but hopefully the end result is worth it. 3. And like with the banana bread in the recipe down below, I will put gluten-free and dairy-free options or alternatives. 4. 5. Couple more. 6. 2 more. 7, and let's see. Ooh, that's too much. 8. Okay. So water, butter, and then we're also going to do the salt and the first bit of cinnamon. So salt is a very small amount, only 1/4 teaspoon. I don't have a 1/4 teaspoon and I have a salt grinder, so I'm just gonna put in a little bit. Hopefully that's not too much. I also don't have a 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon like I just said, so I'm gonna use a half and kind of eyeball it. I also really like cinnamon, so if it's too much, it's not that bad. How's that look? Okay. Before I put this on the stove, I'm gonna pre-mix my flour because that's something we have to do on heat too, and I don't want to leave this on the heat and be fumbling with flour. So let's measure that. And we need 1.5 cups. Oh, 1.25 cups. There's a cup. And I have a dirty dish bowl here where I'm putting everything. And I need 1/4. And 1/4. So 1.25 cups of flour. And then with this, we will head over to the stove. Okay, so we have our water, butter, cinnamon, and salt in the pot and on medium heat. I'm just waiting for these last little butters to melt. And then we're gonna bring this pot to a boil. Just a boil, a rolling boil, so you'll be able to see the bubbles. And as soon as it starts to boil, we will turn it down and add the flour and then mix around like crazy. All right, got a bit of a boil happening. Let it go for about a minute or so, and then we're gonna turn it right down to number 1 or 2 on your stove, and then we'll add in our flour. Okay, turned my stove down. Let's add this stuff in. And we're just gonna stir like crazy until it forms a ball of dough. Smells good. All that flour is mixed in. Ball it up, and then we're going to turn off the stove and take the pot off of the stove and let it rest for about 5 minutes. Okay, our dough is almost rested enough. It's still a little bit warm, but I'm gonna mix up the sugar and cinnamon mixture that we're going to toss our churros in once we've fried them. So for this, we need 1/2 cup of white sugar, 1/2 cup. There we go. And then we need 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon again. Well, 1/2 this time, not 1/4, but. Okay, my fingers are stuck inside. There we go. All right, and then we'll just mix this around. There we go, and it's ready. We don't need a ton. It doesn't look like a lot, but each churro just gets a little dusting, so don't make too much. Let's swap these back out. Not bad. Okay, now we're gonna add our eggs. Let me get my instructions. I'm gonna add in our eggs, 1 at a time. So cracking an egg. Hopefully you don't get any shells in there. And mix it in. Why 1 at a time? I have no idea. Oh, gross. My table's clean. All right, let's add our second egg. And I'm using a wooden spoon. I should have said this at the beginning. You can use a spatula. This just seemed like the easiest. Less to fumble with than when we made banana bread. Also, disclaimer, I've never made churros before, but this recipe seemed fun, so I don't know why it's not fully mixing in, but I'm sure we'll get there. Let's add our last egg in. Still looks a little sloppy, but we're getting there. Okay, this is looking more like I think it should. Hopefully. Okay, we're all mixed together. Our next step is to get our churros into a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, a Ziploc bag works fine. I'm gonna use a large freezer bag just because it's big, and freezer bags are a little thicker, but I don't think there's a requirement. Have it on the inside of my coffee mug. And I'm gonna scoop all the dough in there. If you have a piping bag, you're gonna wanna use that and a large star tip to get the classic churro shape. But these are just gonna be little round guys. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get this in first and then get the rest. You want the churro mix in the bag, not on the table. Get that last little bit out and into the bag. All right, we're gonna seal this up with as little extra air as possible. All right. There's our mix. A piping bag looks like a big triangle, so we're just gonna squish it down to one corner. I'm not going to yet, but when we're ready to put this into the oil, we're gonna cut off just the tiny little tip of this bag. All right, this is the last stove step, and the scariest one. We're gonna heat up some oil. We need 1.5 cups of vegetable oil. So I'm using just canola oil. the cup. And my stove is not on yet. I'm going to turn it on once the oil's in there. My pan's pretty big, so I'm going to do a little bit more than a cup and a half. But it depends how big your pan is around. You just need enough for the churros to get in there. Hopefully that's enough. You can always add a bit more. Okay, I'm going to heat this up, and once it's warm, we will get going and get our churros in there. So to do that, I cut just a little tiny tip. I don't know, I tried to be fancy, but it probably won't work. So you want your churro dough. I have a block here with some paper towels on it and a slotted spoon, because that's how I'm going to take the churros out of the oil. If you have like a mesh spoon or something, that also works, but it needs to have holes in it so that the oil doesn't come out onto the paper towel with the churros. That's all. Okay, the oil is hot. This part, be very careful. If you have someone with you to help you cook, maybe let them do this part. You just get to eat the churros afterwards. So, I also forgot you need a teaspoon, because that's how we're going to break these off of the bag. About an inch or so long. I don't think my hole is big enough. And then it carefully goes in the oil. I don't know if it's hot enough yet. I'm going to make this hole a little bit bigger. Okay, our first little guy is frying up in there. I don't know if you can see. There we go, that's a better size. And then carefully spoon them off into the oil. If it's hot, you don't want it to splash back up on you. You can make them little bites, about as long as your pinky finger. We'll probably put about 10 or 12 in there at one time, and then let those cook, take them out, and then we'll put some fresh ones in. We want them to cook until they're golden brown. Oh, that's a big guy. I'll do 2 more. They're getting bigger as they go. Okay. Keep them a little separate, let them cook away. I don't know the exact cook time. Probably no more than 3 minutes though. We don't want them to get too hot or burnt. Maybe 3 to 5. We'll let them cook away and see what happens. All right, they're starting to look pretty good. Give them some rollovers. They're kind of rolling on their own, some of them. Because I don't have this piping bag and the star tip, they're going to be quite thick, but I'm sure they'll be tasty. Almost golden brown. We'll probably give them I don't know, 30 more seconds to bubble away here, and then we'll start taking them out. Here's our first little tiny guy. They kind of look like tater tots. Other than that small tiny one, I have no idea what order I put these in, so they'll all come out around the same time. Hot. I just don't want to take them out and be raw in the middle. Okay, we'll do a little bit more time, and then I'll take them out and put them on our paper towel, and we'll get some more piped in there. Okay, I think our last ones are done. I kind of got bigger as I went, but I don't know. I like it. You can make them whatever size you want. That's the nice part about baking at home. Who knows, maybe the little guys taste the best. Last one at the end of my dough kind of looks like a crab leg. Okay, they're all out. I'm going to turn off my oven or stove and move the oil off the hot element. Okay, now let's add the sugar. Okay, last step. We're just going to put them in the sugar and kind of mix it around. You can do it with a spoon. You can really do it with your hands if you want. Make sure you've washed them though. There we go. I don't know if you can see it, but it's covered in cinnamon and sugar. Let's do a couple of these little guys. I'm gonna use my fingers. Yum. I don't know if my final big guys are even gonna fit in this bowl. We'll try. Make sure you're not licking your fingers in between each of these, especially if other people are going to eat your churros. Do all the tossing and then wash your hands and then test a churro. last little guy, and then I'm gonna get my big ones. I only have 4 of them. That was all I had left for dough. Ooh, these ones are still warm. I don't think they'll fit in the bowl very well, but. There we go. So if you make these churros, if you share them with your housemates, with your friends, with anyone that works with you, make sure you take a picture and send it to, or have the staff send it to your house coordinator, and they can forward it to me. And we'll just see what everyone's baking. Also, if you have any favorite recipes or requests that you always wanted to know how to bake but have never known how, let your coordinator know and they can let me know, and then maybe that's something we can bake together next week. All right, last one. Okay, I'm gonna go get rid of my last dishes and wash my hands. Okay, our churros are done. They look delicious. Not too bad. That's what they look like inside. I'm gonna go now and eat all these by myself before anyone else gets home.